This story is intended for audiences 18 and older. Viewer discretion is advised. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately understood that something in that building was going to change you? Not the dramatic movie kind of understanding. Not lightning and symbols and a voice from the ceiling. Just a quiet, cellular, bone-deep knowing that settles into you before you've even taken your coat off. That was me. First day. 9th floor lobby of Saran Group Holdings. The kind of building that makes you feel underdressed just by existing inside it. My name is Young Hae-sol. I am 26 years old. I graduated top of my class, spent 8 months applying to every creative direction position that would have me, and finally, got the call from Saran Group. One of the most powerful private companies in the country. Privately owned. Privately run. And at the top of it, a woman I had read about exactly twice in industry publications, and both times put my phone down afterward feeling like I had looked at something too bright. Kang Yoon-seo, 38 years old. CEO since 31. Built Saran Group's creative division from 4 employees to 400. The kind of woman that business profiles describe with words like visionary and formidable and uncompromising, and you can tell the journalists who wrote those articles were trying very hard to say something else entirely and chose professionalism instead. I told myself I was prepared. I was not prepared. She came into the orientation meeting 12 minutes late, which felt deliberate, wearing a structured black coat over a deep burgundy blouse, dark hair cut into a sharp collarbone-length bob, and eyes the color of deep amber that swept the room once and apparently decided it had already told her everything she needed to know. She did not introduce herself. Everyone already knew who she was. She spoke for 4 minutes about the company's creative philosophy. Every word precise. No filler. No warmth exactly, but something that made warmth feel too small a word. More like intensity, directed outward. She said the work we did here mattered or it didn't, and she had no interest in work that didn't. Then she left. I sat in my orientation chair and quietly reassembled myself. My desk colleague was a woman named On Korong, warm brown skin, bright eyes, the kind of person who had clearly decided that life was too short for professional distance and acted accordingly. She slid a coffee onto my desk within the first hour and said, "First day. How are you holding up?"
"Fine," I said.
"What's on the top floor?"
She paused.
Just briefly. Executive suites. Director's conference room. Yoon Seo-nim's personal office. And the room at the end of the corridor. Another pause. Slightly longer this time. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't fully read. "You noticed that already." "It has a different door," I said. "Different handle. Different panel beside it." Korong picked up her coffee. Took a sip. "Everyone notices eventually," she said carefully. "Nobody asks about it." "Why not?" She smiled.
Small and knowing.
"Because Yoon Seo-nim is the kind of person whose private things stay private. And everyone here respects that." A pause. "Or they learn to." She went back to her screen. I went back to mine. But the question stayed. The way questions do when they've already decided they're not going anywhere. The first time Kang Yoon-seo spoke to me directly was 3 weeks into my employment. I had submitted a creative brief that apparently required a conversation. She called me to her office at 6:15 in the evening, which I would later understand was her preferred hour. The building quieter, the light lower, the day stripped of its performance. Her office was immaculate. Not cold. Just precise. Every object with a reason. She was standing at the window when I came in. Turned when she heard me. Those amber eyes finding me with the same quality as the orientation meeting, the sense of being assessed quickly and completely. "Your brief," she said. "Sit down." I sat. She talked about the brief for 11 minutes. Specific, incisive, occasionally challenging in a way that required me to push back or lose ground. I pushed back twice. The second time I did, she went quiet for a moment and then said, "Good. Don't let me flatten things that shouldn't be flat." I didn't know what to do with that. I walked back to the elevator afterward with my folder against my chest and pressed the button for 9 and stood in the quiet of the closing doors and told myself very clearly, "Young Hae-sol, you are here to work. You are here to build something. You're not here to think about the way she said good like it had weight to it. The elevator doors opened on 9. I thought about it the entire way home. Coron was watching me the next morning with that same small, knowing smile.
How was the meeting? She said.
Professional, I said. She said, in the tone of someone who has heard that word used as armor before. I opened my laptop and started working. But that evening, riding the elevator back up for a forgotten file, the doors opened briefly on the top floor before correcting course, and for 3 seconds I saw the corridor. The different door at the end. The panel beside it glowing a faint steady blue in the dim evening light. Like it was waiting. Like it had always been waiting. I pressed the button for 9. But I thought about that blue light for a very long time. Bell subscribe right now and turn on notifications. This story is only just beginning, and I promise you are not ready for where it goes. 2 months in. That is how long it took for Jung Haesel, organized, sensible, professionally motivated Jung Haesel, to become someone she would not have entirely recognized in September. It happened incrementally. That is the thing about calm Yunseo. She did not arrive dramatically. She accumulated. Like weather that builds over days before you realize the sky has changed completely. The evening meetings became a pattern. Not scheduled. Just when she needed to talk through something, she called me. 6:15. Sometimes 6:30. The building quiet around us. The city below the window doing its ordinary thing. We would work for an hour, sometimes 2, and somewhere inside the work something else was happening that neither of us named. I started noticing things. The way she listened, not waiting for you to finish, but actually receiving what you said, turning it over, giving it back improved. The way she held her pen between 2 fingers when she was thinking and didn't realize she was doing it. The way she said my name, Haselesasai, with a precision that felt like the opposite of distance. She started noticing things about me too. I could tell because she began making small adjustments. The temperature in her office. The specific tea that appeared on the side table when I arrived. The way she angled her desk lamp so it didn't hit my eyes when I was reviewing documents. Nobody mentioned any of this out loud. Coron watched it all with the quiet attentiveness of someone reading a book they already know the ending to and choosing not to spoil it. She doesn't do this with everyone, she said one afternoon, not looking up from her screen. Do what? I said. The 6:15 meetings, Coron said simply. They stopped for 2 years before you came. I looked at my screen. What happened 2 years ago? Coron was quiet for a moment. Someone left, she said carefully. Someone important. A pause. That's all I know. I file that away somewhere and try not to take it out too often. The top floor became less abstract as the weeks passed. My work had expanded. Yunseo had given me a project that required access to executive-level documents, and I found myself on the top floor 3, sometimes 4 times a week. The different door became familiar. The blue panel beside it. The fact that no one walked past it without their eyes going slightly forward and slightly away, the practiced non-noticing of people who have made a collective agreement. I made no such agreement. I asked Yunseo about it on a Tuesday evening. Not because I had planned to. Because we had been working for 90 minutes, and there was a particular quality to the quiet between us that felt honest, and I heard myself say, before I could decide whether to. The room at the end of the top floor corridor. She didn't look up immediately from her document. Then she did. Amber eyes steady. What about it? She said. I keep noticing it. I said honestly. Everyone else doesn't. Everyone else has learned not to, she said. I haven't learned not to, I said. She looked at me for a long moment. Something moved through her expression, complex and layered, and not entirely readable. Then she said, Why do you want to know? Because, I said, you are the most precise person I have ever met. Everything in your life has a reason and a place. And that room has a different door, and a different handle, and a different energy, and I think it has a very specific reason and place too. The city moved below us. The lamp was angled away from my eyes. It is a private space, she said finally, for processing things that the rest of this building doesn't have room for. What kind of things? I asked. She set her pen down, looked at me with something that was making a decision. Control, she said quietly. The deliberate, consensual, chosen kind. The kind that has rules and boundaries and requires complete trust between people. A pause. The kind that this industry and this position don't allow me to need publicly. The room was very still. You're telling me, I said carefully.
You asked, she said.
And you're not someone who asks things you're not ready to hear the answer to. I breathed.
Steady.
No, I said. I'm not. She picked her pen back up. Go home, SSI, she said quietly. Think about what I just told you. Come back tomorrow, and we'll see who you are on the other side of knowing. I went home. I didn't sleep. I came back the next morning and I was, and I say this with complete honesty, exactly the same person. Just with one more room's worth of understanding about cogniencio. And something about being trusted with that understanding had rearranged something in my chest that I couldn't rearrange back. She looked at me when I came in. Read whatever was on my face. Same person, she observed quietly. Same person, I confirmed. Something in her expression did a small, private thing. Good, she said. And that word again, good, landed in the same place it always did and stayed there. It started with an invitation. Not dramatic. Not unexpected, at this point. A simple message at 5:50 on a Thursday evening. Come to the top floor when you're ready. Take your time. I sat at my desk for 11 minutes. Korong had already gone home. The 9th floor was mostly empty. I looked at the message, and I looked at my hands, and I made the decision that I had honestly been making in pieces for 2 months. I took the elevator to the top floor. The corridor was quiet. The evening light came through the far window in long, warm lines. I walked past the executive suites, past the director's conference room, past Yuncio's office with its door open and the lamp angled exactly right. I stopped at the different door. She was standing beside it. Dark hair, burgundy blouse, amber eyes watching me come toward her with that quality she had, of receiving rather than taking. The blue panel glowed softly beside the door. You came, she said. I came, I said. You understand what this space is, she said. And what it isn't. Yes, I said. It isn't romantic, she said carefully. It isn't a relationship. It is a structured, consensual, boundaried arrangement between two people who trust each other. Nothing happens that isn't agreed to. Nothing continues past what either person is comfortable with. At any point. I understand, I said. She looked at me for a long moment. Say it back to me, she said quietly. So I did. I said it back to her, every part of it, clearly and in my own words, because that was what the space required. Complete clarity. Complete choice. She nodded once and opened the door. I am not going to tell you everything about what was inside that room. Some things belong to the people who were in them and nowhere else. What I will tell you is this. It was not what I had spent 2 months imagining in the way that things we don't understand get imagined. It was quieter than that. More structured. More, and this is the word that surprised me most, careful. Careful in the way that only things which understand their own weight can be. There were rules. We had discussed them. I had agreed to them. There was complete, unambiguous, ongoing choice at every moment. And there was Cogniencio, who ran 400 people and an empire and carried the specific exhaustion of someone who is responsible for everything, all the time, always, existing in this space as something different. Not diminished. Not less. Just released from the particular weight of having to hold everything together by herself for a few hours. And I understood, with a clarity that startled me, why this room existed. Because some people carry so much that they need somewhere to set it down. We fell into a pattern after that. Thursday evenings. The blue panel. The rules reviewed. The careful structured hours. And then, and this is the part that complicated everything, the afterward. When the structure dissolved, and we would sit in the quiet of the room and talk. Really talk. About the work and the industry and books she had read, and things I was afraid of, and things she had learned the hard way. It was in the afterward that I fell in love with Cogniencio. Not in a room. In the quiet after it. When she was the most unguarded version of herself, and she sat with her dark hair slightly loosened and her amber eyes tired and honest, and she talked to me like I was someone whose understanding of her mattered. I knew it was a complication. I knew it the way you know a storm is coming, you can see it clearly and still not be able to stop standing in the open. She knew too. I could tell she knew by the way the afterword began to shorten. The conversations became slightly more contained. The amber eyes slightly more managed. She was pulling back, carefully, the way she did everything. I didn't say anything yet, but Korong saw it on my face at work. "Hey SSI," she said quietly one morning. "Be careful." "I'm fine," I said. "I know," she said. "That's not what I said." I looked at her. "Someone left 2 years ago," she said quietly. "From the same situation. Same room. Same pattern." She looked at her screen. Yoon Seonim built those walls herself. Very deliberately. Very permanently. I looked at my screen. "I know," I said. But knowing and feeling are two entirely separate countries, and I was standing at the border of both of them with no map. The Thursday came when she said it. We were in the afterward. The room quiet. The city below the window its ordinary self. She was sitting across from me, and her amber eyes had the careful managed quality they'd been building toward for weeks. "Hey SSI," she said. "I know," I said quietly. A pause. "What do you know?" "That you're about to end this," I said. "And that you've already decided. And that there's nothing I can say that changes a decision you made a long time ago, maybe before I ever got here." She was very still. "You're not angry," she said. "I'm devastated," I said honestly. "That's different from angry." Her amber eyes did something I had never seen them do before. Something that cost her. "I cannot give you what the afterward made you want," she said quietly. "I know what it built in you, because I felt it build. And I should have been more careful, and I wasn't, and I'm sorry for that." "Don't apologize for being human," I said. "I have to," she said, "because you deserved more clarity from the beginning." We sat in the quiet room for a long time. "Will you be okay?" she said finally. I looked at her. Amber eyes. Dark hair. The most precise person I had ever met, sitting with something imprecise on her face that she didn't know how to file away. "Yes," I said. Eventually, she nodded once. I stood up. Picked up my things. "Hey SSI," she said. I stopped. "The work," she said carefully. "You are exceptional at it. That doesn't change. None of that changes." I looked at the different door with its different handle. "I know," I said. And I left. 3 weeks after the Thursday, Young Hae-sol still came to work, still took the elevator to 9, still sat at her desk beside on Korong and opened her laptop and did the work that she was, as she had been told, exceptional at. She did not go to the top floor at 6:15 anymore. Korong did not ask. She simply placed a coffee on Hae-sol's desk every morning and occasionally put a hand on her shoulder briefly and removed it and said nothing, and that was exactly right. The work helped. It always had. There is something to be said for the specific mercy of a task that requires your complete attention. It is very difficult to ache for someone while also developing a creative direction strategy for a national campaign. The mind can only fully inhabit one country at a time. Most of the time. She saw Yunseo twice in those 3 weeks. Once in the corridor near the elevators, brief, professional, amber eyes careful and warm simultaneously, a nod that carried everything neither of them was going to say in a corridor. Once in a full company meeting where Yunseo presented at the front of the room and Hae-sol sat in the 3rd row and looked at her presentation materials for the entire 45 minutes except for once, accidentally, when she looked up and found amber eyes already somewhere else. She applied for the Singapore position on a Wednesday. She hadn't planned to. The listing had appeared in an internal company email and she had read it and closed it and made her coffee and come back to her desk and opened the application and filled it in with the focused calm of someone who has understood something about themselves in the last 3 weeks. She needed distance. Not from a company. Not from the work. From the particular quality of being in a building where the top floor existed, and she knew what was in it, and she knew what the afterward had felt like, and none of that was going away on the 9th floor. She submitted the application. Korong looked at her. "Singapore," she said. "Singapore," Hae-sol confirmed. "How long?" 2 years. Maybe more. Korong was quiet for a moment. "Is this running?" she asked. Without judgment. Just asking. "No," Hae-sol said honestly. "It's choosing. There's a difference." Korong looked at her, for a long moment, then nodded. The approval came from HR 2 weeks later, signed off by the executive level. She didn't know if Yunseo had seen it personally.
She thought probably yes.
She thought probably Yunseo had sat with it for a moment before signing, and then filed it away, with the particular efficiency she applied to things she had decided not to reopen. Her last day was a Friday. Korong brought cake. Small team gathering on 9. Warm and genuine, and exactly the right amount of bittersweet. Hazel hugged people she had genuinely come to care about, and promised to stay in touch, and meant it. She was putting the last things into her bag, when the message came. Come upstairs before you go.
KY.
She sat with her phone for a long moment. She took the elevator to the top floor. Yunseo was in her office, standing at the window, which was where she always was when something required steadiness. The city below, the lamp on the desk, the angled light. She turned when Hazel came in. You approved it, Hazel said. You're exceptional, Yunseo said simply. Singapore needs someone exceptional. It would have been wrong to hold you here for my own reasons. Your own reasons, Hazel repeated quietly. Yunseo's amber eyes held hers. Yes, she said. My own reasons. It was the most she had offered. Hazel understood it was all she was going to offer. I don't regret any of it, Hazel said. I want you to know that. What I learned about you. What the room was. What the afterward was.
She paused.
Even the part that hurt. I don't regret it. Something moved through Yunseo's face. The real kind of movement, the unmanaged kind that she didn't always allow. Neither do I, she said quietly. That is the problem. They stood in the office. The city below. The lamp angled right. Take care of yourself, Yunseo said. In Singapore and after. You too, Hazel said. In the building and the room and the afterward. A pause. Find someone who can stay. Yunseo's amber eyes were very still. Go catch your flight, Hazel SSI, she said softly. Hazel picked up her bag. She walked past the different door on her way to the elevator. The blue panel still glowing its steady, quiet blue. She looked at it for one moment, not with longing exactly, with the specific tenderness of someone saying goodbye to a place that changed them. Then she pressed the elevator button. The doors opened. She stepped in. On the way down, she stood straight and breathed steadily and held herself together with both hands and told herself what she already knew, that this was the right thing. That some connections are real and still not possible. That some people show you something true about yourself, and the gift of that is the thing you carry, not the person. The lobby doors opened onto the cold evening city. She walked through them. Somewhere on the top floor, a lamp was angled at an empty chair. Somewhere on the top floor, a blue panel glowed steadily in an empty corridor. And somewhere on the top floor, Kong Yunseo stood at a window with the city below and something she had decided long ago not to reopen sitting quietly in her chest. Neither of them cried. That was the saddest part. Sometimes the most honest stories don't end the way we want them to. If this one stayed with you, drop a heart emoji and the comments. A blue heart for this one specifically. Subscribe for new GL stories every week. We'll see you in the next one.
Bell.